What's up everyone, Nicholas Veinoglou here. Today I'm hanging out at Guitar Center Hollywood and I'm gonna get everything that I need to throw together my new pedal board. Now I'm building this board mainly for studio use, but I also need it to double as a live rig. Let's go shopping. So I just went ahead and picked up this beautiful PRS McCarty S2 594 off the wall here. And I know I want to buy this Line 6 HX Stomp. One of my favorite things about the Line 6 HX Stomp is how versatile it is, right? It's obviously a multi-effects unit, so you have tons of great sounding effects, but you also have really great amp simulation. So a lot of the times I'll actually use this instead of an amp on a gig or recording in the studio. So the first preset I have here is a really fun, kind of washy lead sound. Let's give it a listen. So tones like this that take up all this really great ambient space, I'll use this a lot for textures on a track and even live if the band is playing some really intricate part and I need to fill out a lot of space. Sometimes a sound like this is exactly what you need. So let's check out one more tone on this Line 6 HX Stomp. I have a kind of slap back, slightly overdriven, just a little bit of grit here. Let's see how that sounds. So just one more example here of how versatile this Line 6 HX Stomp is, right? We went from that really washed out reverb lead sound right over to a tight slapback rhythm delay. Now, again, this is great for live use and studio use. I can't tell you how many times I've been at a session where the producer went, we need this really big lead sound, and then, okay, cool, we need the second rhythm guitar part to be really tight and clean. If you have to switch amps and go through your different pedals, it can take a really long time. The HX Stomp, it's literally one knob, flip of a switch, we're there. So in addition to this Line 6 HX Stomp, I have a few more pedals that I'm gonna add to this board. Let's check them out. So up first, we have the Strymon BigSky. Now, this is just an absolute powerhouse, a reverb machine, and so much more. It has all these extra parameters to really fine-tune studio-ready reverbs that I can obviously use in studio, and I can take those same tones live. So this is an absolute staple on my board. And next, in addition to the Strymon lineup, we have the Strymon Deco V2. This thing basically is like the icing on the cake. This makes every single other pedal sound amazing. It instantly fattens up your tone a little bit, has that really juicy tape saturation, and a bit of that Doubletracker feel on it as well. So again, this really not only sounds great on its own, but brings out a lot of character in all of the other pedals. Next, we have something a little bit crazy and unconventional. We have the Electro-Harmonix SYNTH9. This thing is very, very cool. A lot of the times you need unconventional sounds live or in the studio, and this achieves what you would really only be able to achieve with like a MIDI sound and some crazy software instrument, right? I can get all of my classic synths. I can get a Prophet. I can get a Moog sound. Really cool and interesting textures, especially when you pair it with that Line 6 HX Stomp or any of the other pedals here. So really excited about this one. And last but not least, we have my secret weapon that has been on my board for years. This is the newer version of it. We have the Electro-Harmonix Pitchfork Plus. This thing is absolutely insane. Not only can you adjust different intervals so you can get really cool lead lines, I use this to make a faux 12-string sound. So I'll put an octave above and below my sound, mix it in just a little bit. Really great for textures. Also, if I need to fake a bass line, I can go down 1, 2, 3 octaves on this thing. So I can really nail any sound I need with this thing. Love it. So to tie this all together, we're gonna throw all the pedals here on this Livewire tour board. This is a really versatile board, has tons of space for me to add or even just reorganize all my pedals. My favorite thing about it is this 2-tier system here, right? I can actually take that bottom part and snap it up into place, which leaves me with one flush board. Also very easy for me to mount my Strymon and Zuma power supply. So Guitar Center had everything that I was looking for. Let's head back to the studio and put this thing together. All right, so I brought all the pedals back to the studio and set up my board here. I want to walk you through some of the sounds, but first I want to talk about signal chain. Now, traditionally, when putting your signal chain together, you want to put the things in the front that are going to be the most sensitive to your dynamics and really affect the sound, things like wah pedals, compressors, something like the pitchfork here, that's going to be a pitch shifter. From there, you want to move into your overdrive. So any distortion or overdrives here, I have something like the Deco, and I'm also using the HX Stomp as an overdrive there. And then last in your signal chain, you want to put your delays, your reverbs, any time-sensitive sounds. Now, this is just kind of the run of the mill. It's always going to sound good if you follow that as a basic signal chain, but by all means, experiment. Sometimes I'll say, what would happen if I put my reverb first in the chain and then put my overdrive last, right? It's tons and tons of possibilities here, and it's really just about creative expression and exploration. So try applying some of these ideas to your own pedal board, right? Try the original routing that I mentioned, and then maybe try seeing what happens if you mess around with the order of your pedals. So the order of my pedals here, I'm going straight in from the guitar to the pitchfork, pitchfork going into the Synth9, which then goes into the Strymon Deco, that feeds into the HX Stomp, and then last but not least, we got the Strymon BigSky going right out into the amp. So let's take a listen to a couple sounds out of this pedal board now. The first sound I have dialed up is a real warm lo-fi sound. We're starting with both sides of the Strymon Deco on, so we have that tape saturation with the Doubletracker effect going into the HX Stomp, just a little chorus added in there for some warble, and then last but not least, hitting the Strymon BigSky just for a little spring reverb. So my favorite thing about this tone is how the Deco and the HX Stomp are working together to really get that warmth. I originally started with that sound just with the chorus on, and it was missing that underlying warmth. And the nice thing about the Deco is it doesn't oversaturate your sound and kind of take over the pedal. I love the Deco because it really just complements and brings out more character in all of the other pedals. So the Deco here is really just adding that extra warmth and zest. A little bit more of that warbly tape sound mixed in with that chorus gives us that really, really warm lo-fi sound. So just so we can hear the difference in sound, let me turn off the Deco. So here's just the HX Stomp with the BigSky reverb. Now I'll add in the Deco. lot more warmth and body to that tone. So let's check out one more tone here, a little bit more unconventional of a guitar sound, but one of my favorite things is getting creative with unusual pedals like the Synth9. So here we're gonna have the Synth9 into the Deco, into the HX Stomp, into the BigSky. Let's hear how it sounds. So you can really tell the dominating sound here is this synth pedal. I have the wet signal all the way up, so there's no dry guitar in here. You can get some interesting sounds. Maybe we can look at what would happen if I added in a little bit of dry so you can still hear the attack, but it sounds really great going, again, warmed up through the Deco, then goes right into the HX Stomp, which just gives it a little bit more of that analog feel with that chorus on there, and then just a little kiss of reverb at the end. So now let's see what happens if I add in a little bit of my dry signal, and maybe I'll turn the synth down a little bit, just so we can get a more balanced sound between the actual tone of the guitar, plus a little bit of that synth on top. I'm really stoked on how this board turned out. Guitar Center made it so easy for me to get everything I needed to put this together. And while I was there, getting to try out that HX Stomp at the pedal station was awesome. I also got to try a couple other pedals that I don't have yet, which I'm probably gonna put on my to-buy list pretty soon. So I'd encourage you to go out and try some pedals and see what works best for you. If you have any questions on putting your board together, head over to guitarcenter.com, give a call to one of their expert gear advisors, or just pop into your local GC.